All right, let's get right into it. So many companies are pushing for a return to the office, and for a ton of people, that's raising a huge question. How do you protect the routine and the stability you've worked so hard to build, especially when you're managing depression? Well, today we're going to break down exactly how you can navigate requesting remote work as a reasonable accommodation under the ADA.
For so many people, this isn't just about what you'd prefer. This is a question of your actual health. If the thought of going back into that office environment feels like it could undo all the progress you've made, you are so not alone in this. That feeling of disruption, it is absolutely real, and it's clinically significant. And this slide really lays out why. Think about it. For a lot of folks managing depression, working from home created this foundation for a stable, predictable routine. You could control your own environment, you had a structured schedule that worked for you, and, so important, you could actually get enough sleep. But the office, it just throws a bunch of wrenches into that. You've got the stress of the commute, which can totally mess with your sleep. You've got constant social demands that can be completely draining. It's just a loss of all those little crucial tools you had at home to regulate yourself. So, what can you actually do about all this? Well, this is where we get into the legal stuff that's designed to help you out. You've got to understand that under the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, you have rights. You really do. Now, the key legal phrase you're going to hear is whether your condition substantially limits a major life activity. I know, that sounds super technical, but it's actually pretty practical when you break it down. All it really means is that your condition has a pretty significant impact on your ability to do essential everyday things. So, what are we talking about when we say major life activities? Well, for depression, the ADA recognizes a whole bunch of them. And as you can see, these are fundamental. We're talking about things like concentrating, thinking clearly, sleeping, communicating, and even just interacting with other people. If depression significantly gets in the way of any of these, it's very likely a qualifying condition. Okay, this right here, this is a huge myth buster, so listen up. A lot of people think, oh, well, my depression is pretty managed with my medication or with therapy, so I guess I don't qualify. That is completely wrong. The law specifically says that your condition has to be evaluated in its untreated state. The real question is whether your depression would be substantially limiting if you didn't have those supports in place. And what if you have good weeks and bad weeks? Guess what? That's covered too. The ADA protects what are called episodic conditions. It means that even if your depression isn't a constant and you have periods where you're feeling pretty stable, it still counts as a disability, as long as it would be substantially limiting when it's active. All right, so now you get the basics of your rights. So, how do we put this into action? The next step is getting that documentation ready, and let me tell you, the strength of your accommodation letter, it is everything. This is so important. A vague request just isn't going to cut it. You can't just say, the office is stressful. You have to explain how and why it's stressful for you. Don't just say remote work is better. Explain how it gives you the stability you need to keep your symptoms in check. You have to connect the dots for your employer. Draw a clear line from a specific thing about the office to a specific impact it has on you. So a really solid letter has 4 key parts. First, the official diagnosis from a licensed professional. Second, that crucial link we just talked about, connecting your symptoms to the barriers at work. Third, you explain how your solution, like working from home, actually fixes that specific problem. And finally, you make a clear, specific request for the accommodation you need. Now, while working from home is a really powerful accommodation, it's not the only option on the table. It's totally worth looking into other kinds of changes that can give you a ton of support, either by themselves or even combined with remote work. For example, changing your schedule can be a total game changer. A later start time can be amazing for protecting your sleep, which we know is a huge trigger. You could also ask for a more flexible schedule in general, maybe reduced hours when you're going through a really tough period, or intermittent leave so you can get to your appointments. All of these are considered reasonable accommodations. As we start to wrap things up here, I really want to leave you with one final thought about what this law is all about and what it means for you. Let's be crystal clear on this. Depression is not a choice. It's not a character flaw. It is a serious medical condition, full stop. It has real, documentable, and often incredibly difficult effects on a person's ability to function. Your need for support is 100% valid and legitimate. And that is exactly why this law exists. The whole point of the ADA is to level the playing field, is to make sure that good employees who are managing a condition like depression can get the reasonable tools they need to not just scrape by, but to actually succeed at their jobs. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. What's the one change that would make the biggest difference for your stability at work?